Back here in Kentucky, many had thought that the sports betting bill would never make it out of the state Senate. But last night it passed in a 25-12 vote. This morning, Governor Beshear signed the bill into law, and it will take effect in June. But as WKYT's Samantha Valentino explains, it could be longer before sports betting actually begins in the Commonwealth.
After years of urging action, sports betting is finally going to be legal in Kentucky. We made it happen.
House Bill 551 will go into effect in late June. From there, the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission has 6 months to set up a sports wagering system in Kentucky.
You could potentially see the first bet taken at the tail end of 2023 or at the latest, the start of 2024. And, it's sort of the culmination of 2 years of hard work here, and it's finally gotten done in the Bluegrass State.
Horse racing tracks will be able to operate as sports betting facilities, but they must pay a fee. Bets will be allowed in person and online, meaning Kentuckians will no longer have to cross state lines to place their bets.
And more than 1.2 million attempts were made in the state of Kentucky to place bets on sporting events since March 1st. These are people that have registered in a state where sports betting is currently legal, and they've tried to make a bet within the border of Kentucky.
The Kentucky Chamber of Commerce says the passage of House Bill 551 will make Kentucky more competitive.
This is just one more form of entertainment to help get people in here. And, 6 of our 7 border states have passed similar legislation in recent years. So just kind of a no-brainer for us.
In Frankfort, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
Well, Dave Baker joining us now, and this bill has been certainly an issue that we've been tracking for several years, and now it is moving forward to become law. So the question is, where do we go from here, and what do we expect?
Okay, that's a great question, Amber. So what you look at, the bill allows for each of Kentucky's 9 racetracks to partner up with 3 online betting partners. So you've got Churchill Downs, they're going to be the dominant rival, right? They've got existing licenses to operate 4 of those tracks and 4 satellite locations that offer historical racing. Keeneland has got the license to operate 3 of those machines, but when all this stuff started, Keeneland and a Red Mile agreed to go in agreement with 1 location. In talking to people today, it looks like that will be the case. Now, the other thing to remember, tracks would pay a $500,000 initial license fee, $50,000 for the renewals. Operators would pay $50,000 initially and $10,000 annually after that. Retail sportsbooks would pay about a 10% tax on revenues, while online operators would face a 14.5% tax. And so what this is they will now, you see all these people behind us. These are some of the leaders in the betting industry. Each one of those entities, let's say Churchill Downs, will go and say enter into agreements. They'll take bids and they'll say, okay, we're going to use BetMGM, we're going to use Caesars, we're going to use FanDuel. And at that point in time, everybody will make their own decision. There are 17. Ohio's bill went into effect in January. They have 17 different betting organizations that are operating in the state. Now, this means Kentucky will join 36 other states and the District of Columbia in legalizing betting. It joins 4 states in D.C. allowing people to bet on the sports at the age of 18. What Michael Meredith, the man who put the bill forward in the House, he said is you're allowed to bet at a racetrack here in Kentucky at 18, and so he said it was consistent with all of the other Kentucky betting rules. Now, this is a $2 billion industry, Amber. I mean, $2 billion. They estimate that Kentucky will generate $23 million in the first year. Last year in Tennessee, $68 million in revenue. And so it's just one of those things. The industry and the Chamber of Commerce had data from January 1 of this year that 1.8 million websites or phones had tried to ping apps in other states. The interesting thing is it'll go into law 90 days afterwards. Then the Kentucky Horse Racing Commission, who has purview, has a maximum of 6 months to get the rules and regulations in place. They could do it quicker. My guess is with the governor's support behind it, they will try to get this done and operational sometime during football season in the fall.
Some things to still sort out, but nonetheless, Kentucky's going to be getting its chunk of the change.
It's coming, and this is going to be fast and furious over the next several months.
Dave Baker, thank you.
You're welcome.